Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2021. It's been a heck of a year. I wanted to share with you as Patreon supporters an epiphany that I came up with yesterday. I'm going to produce this into a video for everybody when I have the weather and the time, but I wanted to share it with you because it's a really important, I think it's a really important takeaway. One of the things I do as a rider and as an instructor is I'm constantly trying to improve myself to become a better rider, become a better instructor, and to be able to articulate the ideas and the concepts that you need to become better riders. Christina recently, because we were going to go to Nepal and she doesn't get a lot of time to ride during the training season because she's following around in a sport truck, Christina and I decided that this winter we were going to spend time on the trail some more, getting her out on the dirt bike, letting her get her dirt legs underneath her and build up some proficiency. Unfortunately, the second time we went out, she went out with some other riders in a different group, and she ended up falling and breaking a bone in her wrist. Though it was a minor break and she's recovering, it's really cut into her riding. But this is what brought me to the point I'm at now. While I was out riding yesterday, and I think about the way I look on videos, when I'm telling people what I'm looking for, it occurred to me that in all the years I've been teaching, I've been missing a key point. I'm going to share that with you right now. I talk about the weightless rider and the concept that you should always feel no force is really pushing against you. Nothing should be pulling you down to the ground. Nothing should be forcing you forward. Nothing pushing you back. And to do that, we're always in that state of action, one step ahead of what's happening. So we have proactive, reactive, and active states. I've mentioned that in some other videos, and I'll go into that in the future again with some in the future. But the idea is that when I expect something to happen, I want to get into a position so that when it happens, I'm constantly neutralizing the forces. This is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of risers. There are times in risers, times and riders in situations where risers on a motorcycle are beneficial, but most of the motorcycles and most of the riders out there, when they put risers on the bikes, they put themselves into a worse position. And here's why. This takes me back to why I feel part of the responsibility for Christina crashing. She's not an instinctual rider. She's a ride by the numbers type of riders, and this is how we all learn to ride initially. We're told when you go up a hill, where to put your body and what to do. When I go down a hill, what do I do? And I'm always asked about what these formulas are, but the goal is to not have a formula that'll help you accomplish something, that you sense things, that you understand what's going to happen, that you have a better idea so that you're not trying to figure out what the formula is for this exact situation. As we know, not all mud is the same, not all bikes are the same, not all gravel is the same. And what I found is that I talk about neutral riding position, this weightless rider floating about the bike, but at the same time, and in the recent video I put out about handlebars on the Africa Twin, I also talk about getting over the front handlebars. And it occurred to me I might be giving some advice that, depending how it's interpreted, could become negative. And this is what I think happened with Christina. She's very good about not putting weight on the handlebars and not resting up on the front. But she's also heard, well, get over the handlebars, be on the front of the bike. And when she came around one of the corners, she said the front end tucked and she went over the handlebars faster than she knew what happened. I kept thinking, what went wrong? What I believe happened is that when I teach you to get over the handlebars, I believe some believe and feel that meant get your whole body over the handlebars. And that's not wrong, but here's where the detail is. Here's the part that was missing. If you get over the handlebars and your weight is over the top of the bars, even if you're wedging in with your legs onto the tank, which is what Christina does. She wedges on the bottom. In fact, Paul and I teach this. You wedge on the bottom so your weight's not on the handlebars. Your mass, your body mass, is still loading the front tire. And there are situations where that's the correct thing to do. But most of the time, we're floating around somewhere in the middle of the bike. This takes me back to when I was thinking, what do I look like in videos? And a lot of times I look like I'm sitting above the seat, not above the handlebars. That's because we're looking at my body mass, not my balance. when I mention getting above the handlebars, what I'm really talking about is having your shoulders positioned so that when they move left or right, when the bike switches left or right, whether it's tilting left or right, or whether the handlebars are moving left or right, that I'm in a neutral position above those handlebars. But I don't want my weight above it. Often what you'll notice is I bend forward, and as I get above those bars, my back end, my butt, will be farther behind the bike. I end up counterbalancing my upper body with my lower body. That allows me to drop back, and what I'll do is I take my legs and I wedge into the seat. That allows me, so I'm not using all leg support to get that balance back, so that I'm still above the handlebars, but I'm not putting weight above the handlebars. I'm not weighting the front tire all the time. It changes very, very rapidly. If I weight the front end and I'm going through a corner or a berm and that front end pushes, if I'm forward and that front end tucks, what happens is the bike slows much faster than I do, and I go up and over the handlebars. That's bad. If I'm neutral and I let that bike move out, I can stay above the bars, but my weight is back. So if it starts to tuck, I'm not immediately thrown forward and putting weight down on the bars. I'm still in control and I can still move around. So this is my recommendation. If you get a chance to go out this winter and play around with it, and you're looking for that neutral rider position, the floating above the bike, think about, am I above the bars, but is my weight neutral? Am I in a good position for control, but am I weighting one wheel or the other when I don't want to weight it? And that's one thing to kind of focus on a little bit if you get a chance to go out on the trails and play around some. Great epiphany. I'm going to go into some more detail. Like I mentioned, I'm going to do a video on this at some point when I'm able to, and produce it with some bike riding, some ride-bys, and make it all pizzazzy. But as Patreon supporters, this was such a huge epiphany to me. The way I verbalize this, the way I teach that, I just wanted to share with you, and I'm hoping this makes sense, and you can take this away from you and become much, much better. Oh, this is going to tie into several other topics that I'm going to address in later videos. One is why I don't like risers, and that's because the risers, when they come up, they have a tendency to put you farther back on the bike where you're in a nice, comfortable standing position. If you're that comfortable standing, then you probably might as well just sit down and enjoy the ride. If it's going to be something where you really have to attack the terrain, where it's rock and gravel or stuff that's scary, then you want to be over those handlebars, again, with your upper body, but not necessarily weighting the front so things move around. So when we set up the ergonomics on the bike, which is the other topic I'm going to do later, the ergonomics are really about the ideal position when things are aggressive, off-road, and where they're comfortable when you're riding on the pavement or on simple gravel roads. And the general idea is that your hips are over your ankles, that your shoulders are in front of your hips, but behind the steering axis of the motorcycle. And I'm going to go into handlebars and risers and the angle or the pullback of those handlebars and how that makes a big difference. I've been playing around with the 1200, trying to get it dialed in just right. I've got several bikes lined up that I'm going to be able to show some really good examples on it. Anyways, I'm going to do this as a quick unedited upload. I hope it was worth your time to watch. Please leave comments down below. If it doesn't make sense, I'd be happy to answer and try to clarify that, or at least it'll help me clarify when I make the more produced video that I'll put out to the general public, because this just belongs to you guys. Thanks again for all your support. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year. I'm excited about what's coming into this next year. I'm sorry if you guys did not get any of the training. I just don't have any more time. So everything I have on the schedule, except for the Tour Tech Rally, is all that's going to be there. If you do reach out to me and you're trying to get on a wait list, I do give priority to those of you that support me. So make sure you get a message to me so I can make some notes in the school database, because in the States I always use Puget Sound Safety. Happy New Year. Good night. It's nighttime here. Have a great time.